Hello, I'm Professor Plinio Monteiro, and this video I will focus to explain how you develop a global branding strategy. Let's start with a definition of brand. That is a name, a term, sign, symbol, or design, or a combination of them, intended to identify the goods or services of one seller or group of sellers and to differentiate them from those of competitors. This definition from the American Market Association represents very important aspects of a brand. So, let me try to explain the main factors related to what is really a brand. First, will be something that will help to differentiate one offer from another. So you help differentiate different products from the same producer, or even different products from different producers, different competitors. And this is a very important aspect. So the brand, even when the products are very similar, the brand can give a lot of differentiation aspects to different products. This means that since the brand will have a unique set of associations related to the kind of images and experience that are only in customers' mind, the brand will then bring a very important source of differentiation. Indeed, we can say that the branding is a very effective way to differentiate one offer, since the products sometimes can be very similar and competitors can offer things in the market that are very similar, but the brand is a very important source to bring these specific associations and then to drive greater brand equity, greater value for customers. Also, the brand, since the brand is related to some experience and some associations, also customers will perceive the brand as a promise of performance or a promise to what kind of benefits you're expecting to achieve when you buy the product with a given brand. This also means that the brand will represent a certificate of quality, a way to certify that a specific product achieves a specific level of quality. And these examples where we see the brands evolving, it's very interesting because branding is part of how a society evolves also. So during the evolution of society with the change of tastes, change of cultures, and change of value propositions, so these brands will evolve to reach the current status of your target market. And then we will always see branding as a constant evolving event in a specific business. The main goal of a global branding strategy is to achieve brand equity in the target markets. In that case, you need to deliver a program to achieve that goal. First of all, we need to be aware that brand equity will be represented by different associations and attachments that customers will have with a given brand. And authors like Acker will say that brand equity is composed by many different dimensions. First of all, awareness. So people need to know that you exist, know what's behind your brand, know your brand. This is the name, what we call brand awareness. Also, brand loyalty. So when people are loyal to a brand, when they are prone to make an effort to buy a product, when they are not willing to search for other alternatives, then you have greater brand equity since your customers will attach more value to your brand. Also, brand performance. So how your brand will deliver a higher performance products, especially in terms of perceived performance. This means that some brands will attach a superior belief that the product with that brand is better. We can say the example of Apple, for instance. So people that like Apple usually believes that Apple is have much more performance than other competitors. And if you look to some features in the product, sometimes they are not so different from other competitors. But people really believe that Apple will achieve better performance even when the components are basically the same for a product that is really similar. And finally, we have different types of brand associations. So what will be the feelings and the associations to specific adjectives of the product? For instance, you can associate a product with fun, or you can associate a product with freedom, or you can associate that with friendship. And this kind of brand associations will attach special meaning for customers, and these meanings will increase the equity of these brands in the point of view of customers and also in the point of view of the company. But how can you develop brand equity operating globally? First of all, think about your value propositions, your value proposition, and what kind of association, what kind of performance indicators you can use to make your customers really understand what you're trying to deliver in the market. Also, with that in mind, you're going to select a bundle of brand elements like the brand names, social medias, personas, and different types of gamifications and online applications. And you're going to use that in a way that you're trying to use these elements that can be shared in many countries in the world. So select brand elements, especially the brand name, but also the other factors that will allow you to compete globally. Also, search for alternatives of extending a national brand versus adopting a new brand identity globally. So sometimes to achieve um, a specific positioning for your brand, you need to search, okay, can I use this brand to operate in a new country? Or I can use a national brand to achieve specifically customers in that target market. And then after this, the decisions of what kind of brands you're going to use in each area, then you're going to develop a global positioning system, meaning that you're going to search the best brands mixed with the right products in each market that you're operating. And this is the key elements to conquer greater brand equity operating in global markets. We may work with many different brand elements to create brand equity. First of all, the brand name. It's very important to have a brand name and to take care about the differences in languages and how people will understand what's the meaning of this brand. So in international marketing, we have many cases that brand names can be can be like harmful to brand equity. So in some languages, a name can represent something good, and in other languages, it can be something very bad. Also, the use of language slogans. So you can use a short sentence, and sometimes you can have a global slogan. For instance, Coca-Cola used to apply very similar slogans worldwide, and sometimes they use the same slogan for global campaigns. But then they can have also some specific slogans to specific target markets, depending on your value proposition and the nature of the markets that you're operating. In the case of logo symbols, you can use a logotype, a logo, or the brand name in an artistic way, or even one abstract symbol like a star, rainbow, and you can attach some meaning to these symbols, and people will then recognize these symbols of your brand, and this will increase especially brand awareness and also the brand associations. For instance, when you start creating a brand, you usually try to say what is the symbol, what's the meaning of the symbol that you are attaching as a brand element. Also, the usage of colors of and store atmosphere. So we can use many colors that are related to your brand to make it more easy for your customer to associate, to create associations when they go to the shops, when they go to the customer service, when they use your online apps, for instance. So take care about the colors and what will be the most important colors to be used, and what kind of emotions you're expecting to reinforce with the usage of this store and environmental elements. The use of jingles, and not only jingles, but sounds of your brand. So specific brand sounds will be related to a brand. For instance, the sound of the windows opening, from Microsoft, and you can use that for creating a specific association, increasing brand awareness. And nowadays, with the emergence of apps like Spotify, then this approach, the use of jingles, are becoming very important nowadays too. The use of social networks and brand communities. These are very important aspects to use the social relations in a way to increase the brand equity. So you have some associations related to the networks of customers and how these friendships and relationships can represent a unique experience for your customer. Also, the packaging. So the way that you pack the packaging can not only protect the product and have some functional utilities, but also packaging can represent some associations like the colors, the elements, the materials. All of them can bring some associations to your brand. For instance, if you're trying to have a more green or social or ecological conscious product, then you can use some materials that will be more easy to reuse, and then using that or to recycle. So if you have packaging like that, then you're going to increase the association with environmental conscious product. The use of sites, applications, and gamification. So many companies will create huge sites or create specific apps to have a more close relationship with your customer. It's very common nowadays that companies will ask you to download one app to have access to special offers, to discounts, and when you do have that, they are trying to be more close to you. And this close relationship will make will increase the presence of the brand in the daily life of customers, and this can represent one additional improvement in terms of associations, like something that is part of your life, and also this can bring some, this will increase largely the brand awareness. And also the use of different games, not only games that you play against a computer, but games that you play with other users, or some games that you go, for instance, in an event, and there you have some competition. This kind of the usage of gamification is very useful for increasing brand equity. One example, for instance, when you have to interact with an app, and then you can have like new stars, you achieve levels, and all these elements that are common in games can create more engagement and bringing bringing more awareness and equity for your customers. Also, the use of personas, pets, and celebrities, basically trying to give a more human condition to your brand. So you can use personas, the representation of your target market, or even pets, like the Michelin, the pet from Michelin. So the mascot of Michelin, and you can use that to create a more human brand. And it's very important because when you use that, you're saying to people that this brand you can relate not only with one object, but if you're relating to a person that will be represented by the persona, mascots, or even persona celebrities. And finally, you can create and use storytelling to make it more easy for people to understand the associations and what are the nature of the performance of your brand. And usually companies try to use that. It's very important to take care and not to create a fake history because the storytelling needs to be based on truth. If you are really creating a fake history and if people then become aware of that, then probably you're going to lose our effort because people start thinking, okay, they're not telling me the truth. So it's very important to create histories that are based on truth and to make it a more rich, a more interesting history based on reality. And what are the main decisions to develop the global branding mix? The first decision is the usage of international or local products or brands. Local brands and products are the ones that achieved a huge success in a single national market or a more narrow definition of the market, like a state or a region in a specific country. Usually, they will achieve a lot of competitive advantages, and this can represent a huge challenge for new competitors trying to enter in that market. In that case, usually one strategy is try to find these very famous local brands, and bigger firms can go there and buy this small company and use this local brand to enter in a more broad definition of the market. For instance, an international company can try to enter into the beer market in Brazil, and then they came here and buy a very famous local brand of beer. And then using the channels for distribution and the power to promote this product in the market, this international company can use this brand to sell the product all over the country, or even trying to spread this product to sell in much more regions. The second option is to use of a global brand. In that case, you're going to have the same brand, you have brand, and you're going to use a very famous brand to reach new markets. This is the case of a product or a brand that will be offered in many different markets in a given region, like Latin America, Europe, and so on. Usually these products, they are more focused in the mass market. So basically they have the focus in wants and needs that are more standardized. And also, many different global brands, you have a lot of similarities, even in their names and their images. The reason why is that if you're trying to reach many different markets, you need to look to what is more common. You need to look to what is more traditional. If you are looking to particularities like small markets or niches of the market, then probably you're going to satisfy more specific needs. Then your product will not be able to compete globally because basically you're not talking about a product that can achieve a huge part of the population. And one interesting thing on that is that you can have different names or brands for the same product. So sometimes a global brand, a global product can have some changes in their names to make it more adjusted to a specific market that you're trying to enter. This is one example. For instance, when Honda Fit was launched in Japan, in Japan. It was named as Honda Fit, and when it was launched in Europe, in some countries in Europe, the name was Jazz. This is the case of a global product and local brands. And look to the other example. So we have the iPod, and this is the brand. And so iPod, it's a global brand because you have this globally operating. And also you have the MP3 player. This is also a global product. In that case, you have not only a global brand, but also you have a global product. To develop your brand mix, then you need to choose not only if you're going to use global or local brands, but also what will be the strategy for each brand that you're going to operate. So we may start with the decision of using a product with no brand. In that case, you have a generic product. It's very common, for instance, when you're selling a commodity, where the brand is not really important, and especially in B2B markets. But most of the times, we're going to have some brand of our product. This is the case of the branded product. And then you can choose to use a private label. For instance, you can use your label and use this label in products from other companies. For instance, supermarkets use that a lot. And you can use the co-branding or ingredient branding. It's a way to join different brands and to bring different associations to a specific product. Or you can create your manufacturer's own brand. So you can use as a manufacturer the brand of your brand. In that case, you can have a brand for a single market. For instance, you can go to a market like Brazil, and there you can have a choice to use one brand to enter into Brazil, or you can use multiple brands operating in Brazil. So in that case, suppose that an international company will try to enter into Brazil, and then this company can enter here with just one brand, usually start with one brand, and after some period of time, then the company can bring more brands to operate in Brazil, creating more brands to operate in Brazil. And a company that will operate in many different markets will also make the decision about the local brands or a local brand, a local brand or a global brand. For instance, if the company is operating not only Brazil, but all over the world, like Latin America, Europe, Asia, then these companies, you need to make a decision. In each market, they are going to use a local brand to operate, or they are going to bring a global brand to operate there. Since you have more cultural differences, local tastes, and greater competition of local brands that exist there, usually you're trying also to have your local brands there. But if you you're looking for a more generic needs and wants, if you're looking more to the mass market, and if you don't have local competition that are really strong, then you can bring a global brand and use the same brand to have a more standardized approach to your branding. These decisions for branding will be related to the degree that the company are willing to use an external source of value for your product using a private label, or if you're going to use all your resources for developing your brand, keeping all control of your branding under your management. In the case of private labeling, you're basically using an external brand to your product. For instance, when you go to the supermarket, and then the supermarket will have will sell products that the supermarket is not really producing that. But then the producer, the manufacturer, can use the brand of the supermarket to sell the products there. It's a very good point. For instance, if you're a small producers and you're going to a market and you know that you don't have enough brand equity and you don't have the access to resources to promote that product, then could be interesting to use the brand of the supermarket to promote your product there. And in the middle of these two dimensions, we have the co-branding. In that case, you have like half of responsibility on the associations and the brand management, because basically you're making one alliance. So you're going to use your brand, but also you're going to bring the brand of one partner. In that case, you have 50% of external sources of brand equity and 50% of internal source of brand equity. Yeah, in the case of creating your own manufacturer's brand, then you're going to have everything by yourself. So in that case, you're going to be 100% responsible for the associations and for developing a unique message for your customers. Private label became very famous in different supermarkets in the world. It started in UK, where it's very developed, and in some countries are not so popular, like in southern Europe countries like Spain and Portugal. And it's also very popular in Brazil. And if you go to the supermarket, usually you're expecting to save some money. And since Brazil, we have a lot of price elasticity. It means that if you offer lower prices, a lot of people will buy that product. And these private labels are good alternatives for delivering your product using a famous brand from the supermarket. In the case of co-branding or ingredient branding, we have different strategies to combine brands or combine companies to deliver a unique message to the market. In the case of co-branding, you're making a partnership. For instance, you can combine brands to deliver a product, like a milkshake using Nutella. Or you can use two different brands from the same company. For instance, you have your company, you have two brands, and then you can merge these two brands in a new product. The joint venture can be considered a type of co-branding. For instance, in Brazil, we have a joint venture of the airline company Azul with Correios. So then they use that to deliver products all over the country. In that case, they create a specific brand and they are joining their forces. And this new brand that they created, everyone knows that have forces from Correios and from Azul. Also, you can have multiple partners joining a specific effort. It's very common when you're trying to develop new technology. For instance, this Intelligent company, it's a merge of Apple, IBM, and Motorola to develop new machine learning and artificial intelligence models and softwares and applications. And also you can share the locations. We can have what we call the service shared locations. For instance, you can have in the same store two different companies operating there. Since they are operating together, then you're bringing both associations to that environment. And this can be something interesting for your customers. This is one example of Spoleto, an Italian food chain of restaurants in Brazil, and also Domino's Pizza. Since they are both very close together, we have pizza and pasta, basically, and they use the same area in some regions in the city. They have the same store, and they share the locations, sharing the costs, but also having more positive brand equity, because then some people can choose pizza or some people can choose pasta. In the case of ingredient branding, you're trying to promote the brand of some components of your product. The most famous case is the component branding. In that case, you're going to promote heavily some high quality component of your product. For instance, you can say that Intel inside. So your computer have Intel inside, so this is a better computer. Another example in Brazil, for instance, there is a beer company named Colorado, and they curate a storytelling to tell that they have some special ingredients in the beer, like honey and some very traditional fruits in Brazil, and they create a whole history to say that okay, we are bringing these very famous, very traditional producer and bringing them the honey and these fruits to produce our special beers. And also you can have the self-branding. In that case, you're going to create a brand and promote this brand of a specific product that you have inside your service to create greater brand equity. For instance, this is one example of a chain of a hotel chain, and they created what they name as the beds of heaven. So it's a heavenly bed. So you can go there to the hotel because then you're going to sleep in the beds of heaven. And this is a way to create a brand and use this brand to promote your own value proposition. This picture illustrates the two types of strategies. In the case of co-branding, you can bring two different brands and then you can join together to the distributor to reach the end user. In the case of ingredient branding, then you're going to use some components, some ingredients to enter as part of your product. For instance, NutraSweet will enter as an ingredient for Diet Coke. And then these become the product itself. And the final product will then go to the distributor and then go to the end user. Another interesting strategy is to use the brand extension. In that case, you're going to use one existing and famous brand and use the same brand for new products. Once you use that, you can bring some associations related to the brand to new products or new markets that you're trying to enter. If you're using that for too long, then you can have like an umbrella brand, a brand that will be the same for many different products in many different with many different positionings. Of course, you need to be aware that when you use a brand for a new product, we're going to bring some brand associations to this product, but also this product will change the meaning of this brand for the target markets. So if you're not choosing well where you're going to use this brand in different sectors, then you're going to you can lose what is unique from your brand. So it's you can use this strategy, but think carefully and try to manage these unique associations in order to avoid losing what is your source of differentiation. You also need to check the social, legal, and regulatory adaptations of your brand. Starting with the packaging, where sometimes you need to change the package, the information, the data, even the process to deliver and to recycle, for instance, the products. Also, some labels sometimes you need to change the labels of a product according to some regional regulations. The design of a product. Think about what will be the cultural and social particularities. For instance, I gave the example in the beginning of these videos of some product that we have the same product, but the packaging and the sleight of hand of a product for cleaning the house is very different when you go to Arabic world and when you compare to Germany, for instance. And also think about the kind of warranties that are specific to each country. Sometimes some countries will require greater warranties for the products, and in other countries, extra warranties can become a competitive advantage. To wrap up, What are the main global brand and product challenges? First, does this strategy fit the company or its market? So thinking about the strategy and think about the whole company and the subsidiaries and headquarters. This product, this brand that you're trying to launch, um, they fit with the company. Also, how can you develop a strategy to create economies of scale? And why that? Even if you're trying to make a lot of differentiation, it's important to have economies of scale when you operate globally. What would be the challenges to have a global brand team? So cultural diversity and distance, the time zones where people are going to work. So what would be the challenge for dealing with that? Um, is it possible to have a general brand and implement this general brand in many different markets? This can represent a lot of economies when you try to operate abroad. And finally, what we need to adapt. So first think about standardization and then you think, okay, let's adapt and what is a required adaptation of my brand or my product. And then we finish the content of this lecture about product and brand decisions when we are thinking about international marketing. So this is it, students. See you in the next video. Bye.